The Marvel Cinematic Universe is heading to a crazy place. I think post the events of Infinity War and whatever craziness happens in Avengers 4, the MCU is going to have a very different look and feel. Now, the first movie that will be taking place after the two-part Thanos event is going to be Spider-Man Far From Home. And this was intentional. Both Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal talked to this fact. They said that it was important that they have a character like Spider-Man be the lensing for the audience to look at and discover what the new MCU will look like. And so, in this video, I want to break down several things we know about Spider-Man Far From Home and what we think they tell us about the events of Avengers 4 and what the MCU will be looking like in Phase 4. Before we get into this, I need to shout out Letitia McEntry, who got the nerd card question correct in my latest Star Wars video. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to Star Wars, so shout out to you, Letitia, and we'll do another nerd card question at the end of this video. And I'm also going to give myself like a 3% chance of getting that pronunciation correct, so I apologize if it is wrong, which it probably is. So let's get right into this craziness, guys. Avengers 4 is going to be a very big deal. It is going to set up the MCU for a completely new type of thing, and the first movie in this MCU in this phase will be Spider-Man. Now, both Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige have spoken to this fact. Like I said, it was a deliberate choice. And Feige really lays out why this was important to them. He was basically talking about how the events of Civil War weigh heavily on Peter in Homecoming. And in that same way, the events of Infinity War and Avengers 4 will weigh heavily on Peter Parker in Far From Home. And specifically, Feige talks about the events of Infinity War being very important to forming Peter Parker's new outlook on life. And I think this is very interesting because this implies that even if the snap is undone, Peter will have all of the memories from the events of Avengers 3. And so let's talk about what this means. I mean, the simple fact that Peter Parker is alive sort of makes us think that the snap by Thanos will be undone. I mean, yeah, otherwise, how the hell is he going to be alive to have his own movie? However, all of this talk about implications, about the big change that is going to be taking place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it implies that not everything that Thanos did will be undone. There has to be some stakes, and there has to be an impact made on the world and the planet. And so this sort of gets us to a point in speculation, and I believe that Thanos will have to be beaten sort of twice in Avengers 4. He will have to be beaten one time to get the gems away from him and to sort of undo the snap. But if that goes the way I think it will go, Thanos will once again invade Earth with the children of Thanos and try to take the gems once again. And I believe it is in those moments, in the second go-around to defend the gems, that the Avengers will ultimately defeat Thanos because they will be united at that point and be well aware of the threat they face. Elizabeth Olsen actually just spoke to the fact that things were going to get even worse for our heroes in Avengers 4. And I think what this means is that in this second go-around of defending Earth, some of our heroes will die and become permanently dead. Again, this impact is going to have to be made somehow, and so I sort of hypothesized that the Earth will still know about the Thanos invasion, that the fact that Thanos came there and tried to get the gems and really wreaked havoc on the defenses of the planet is going to be a massive wake-up call to all of the different people of Earth, including all of the heroes and including all of the villains. But yeah, we're pretty darn sure that the snap's going to be undone. I mean, would Peter Parker and his whole school go on a field trip or study abroad thing in Europe if half of the planet was still completely gone? Seems like a really weird time to go sightseeing in Europe. I mean, although I guess you'd have more parking and flights would probably be cheaper, but I mean, like, come on. You're not going to be doing that if half of the population is gone. Now, another big clue as to what the MCU is going to look like post-Avengers 4 all has to do with the fact that Maria Hill and Nick Fury are going to play big parts in Far From Home. We've seen them on the set, and this implies a couple of different things. Number one, it implies that S.H.I.E.L.D. will become very necessary to the planet once again, and I think that whatever stigma was left from S.H.I.E.L.D. with the whole Hydra situation is going to sort of fall to the wayside because the planet needs defending. I believe that Nick Fury coming back and retaking his position as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be because the planet recognizes that it needs S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, this hints at something very big happening, and even if the snap is undone, there have to be some kind of thing that happens on planet Earth that wakes everybody up to this fact. It's even possible that S.H.I.E.L.D. is now working with the Avengers, or what's left of them, under the Sokovia Accords. This could, once again, just be to build up that infrastructure and to have more bodies out there looking all over the planet. Another clue about the MCU post-Avengers 4 all has to do with the fact that we see Happy Hogan in Spider-Man Far From Home. He has been spotted on the set doing some scenes with Nick Fury and with Maria Hill. Now, this implies that Tony Stark is sort of taken off the board, which means he could have either died in the events of Avengers 4, perhaps he retires after the events of Avengers 4, he could be missing after the events of the Avengers 4, or he could just be hanging out with his kid and Pepper and just living life and, being sort of carefree, not wanting to be a hero in these moments. Now, with all of the new suits that have been spoiled for Far From Home, it really looks like Tony Stark was either working on some new stuff or perhaps already had other designs for the Spider-Man suit. Either way, it's a safe bet that Happy Hogan is bringing the new suit to Maria Hill and Nick Fury, and then they will then give it to Spider-Man, who uses it because he's, once again, an Avenger under the Sokovia Accords or a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., depending on which way they go. So this probably means there's some bad stuff going on with Tony Stark. And we think that, even if Tony doesn't pass in Avengers 4, something's going to change the working dynamic of him and the Avengers. And it's very likely that Captain America is going to pass as well. And that'll sort of be hanging over everything in Phase 4 as a very dark cloud. But it's possible we lose both of them in Avengers 4, and what we see in Spider-Man Far From Home is really Peter dealing with the loss of his mentor and with the loss of another great hero, and the whole world really just dealing with that loss, trying to figure out how to move forward. Now, the villains are another interesting aspect when it comes to Spider-Man Far From Home. It really looks like they're doing Sinister Six. Mysterio looks to be the main big bad, but we have heard rumors that the Mark Gargan Scorpion character is going to be in this film as well as Vulture. There's a big rumor that Hydro Man will be in this movie, and it really looks like they're going to be doing the Rogues Gallery of Peter Parker. Now, a possible explanation for this and for the new resurgence of supervillains across the world would also have to do with the events of Avengers 4. I mean, if a lot of Avengers die, if the infrastructure of the planet is super weakened, a lot of these villains around the world will feel emboldened. They might feel like this is their time to consolidate power, and some of them might even think it's their time to step up to be able to protect the planet if anything like that happened again. And it would fall in line with recent rumors and reports about Marvel Studios having a script written for Dark Avengers. I mean, the Dark Avengers were made to be this new kind of Avenger that was more hardcore and more capable than the Avengers of the years past. This is supposed to be a group of heroes that would actually be able to protect us. And if something really bad happens in Avengers 4, they barely make it out of there, but the whole world is like, wow, the Avengers weren't good enough to save us. It's very possible that we start to see in Phase 4 of the MCU this upholding of a new group of heroes, a new version of the Avengers, perhaps having to do with the Dark Avengers, or at the very least incorporating some villains into their ranks. Overall, Avengers 4 is likely to rock our socks off and set up a completely new precedent for the MCU. It's going to be crazy. I'm so happy that Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be the first film exploring this area and this time in the MCU. I think that some of these things that we've already seen from the set bring up some possibilities. So I hope you enjoyed some of that speculation and some of that theory creating there? Let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts about Avengers 4 and Spider-Man Far From Home, and what do you want to see out of this next phase in the MCU? Whatever you were thinking about that, let me know in the comment section below. Now let's check that nerd card before we get out of here. I want to know who guest starred to be the speaker at Peter Parker's high school graduation. That's right, it was a pretty famous Marvel character that spoke at Peter Parker's high school graduation. I want to know, what's the name of that character? Answer that question in the comment section below. So that is going to do it for this video. I hope you found it entertaining. If you're interested, you can check out more of our videos below, as well as some of our dope merchandising. It helps us out, supports the channel, and it looks damn cool. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.